I'm Jessica, I'm 32, and I'll never forget the icy shock I felt at my sister Rachel's engagement dinner when her fiancé, Marcus, suddenly turned to me in front of everyone. Rachel had just made one of her usual digs about my career. Something like, "Jessica's a failed lawyer who became a judge because she can't manage her own family." The room went tense, the kind of silence where you can hear people holding their breath. Then Marcus stands up and goes, "You're the judge tonight, Jess. Why don't you tell everyone what really happened 5 years ago?" My family went completely silent. I realized, right then, that the secret I'd carried for years was about to come out whether I wanted it to or not. Before I get into all the messy details, let me know in the comments where you're watching from right now. What I'm about to share completely changed how I see loyalty, justice, and what it means to protect the people you love. If you've ever had to choose between protecting a loved one and doing what's right, hit that like button, because trust me, you'll understand this. My story gets dark before there's any light, but I hope it helps you see why sometimes the hardest judgment calls are the ones we make about our own family. And if you want more real stories about standing up for the truth even when it hurts, don't forget to subscribe. Now, to really understand what happened that night, you need to know how my relationship with Rachel shaped both of us. Growing up, I was the classic good kid. Straight A's, lots of helping around the house, always trying, maybe too hard, to make our parents proud. Not saying I was perfect, but I was determined to do everything right. Rachel, she was the opposite. 2 years younger, wild, charming, and, for whatever reason, always our parents' favorite, even though she was constantly in trouble. If I was the quiet, bookish kid, Rachel was outgoing and got away with, well, pretty much everything. She could bat her eyes and get teachers to forgive her for missed homework or charm her way out of trouble with my parents. "Rachel's just spirited," my mom used to say after curfew-breaking nights. Or my dad, "She's still finding herself." Meanwhile, if I brought home an A instead of an A, I'd get a lecture about how I needed to live up to my potential. Honestly, that dynamic defined our whole childhood. Me getting the pressure to be perfect and Rachel skating past every consequence. But did I resent her for it? Not really. Truth is, she was my little sister, and I loved her. I always believed it was my job to look out for her, even when she messed up, even when she clearly didn't want my help. When it was time for college, I worked 2 jobs to pay my own way. Sure, my parents could have helped, but they said they were saving for Rachel's future, because she might need it more. I didn't complain. I liked being independent and was determined to reach my dream, law school. I made it too, near the top of my class, passed the bar on the first try, then landed a job at a solid law firm. But at family gatherings, even my career successes took a back seat to whatever adventure Rachel was up to, often bankrolled by my parents. As adults, Rachel's pattern of taking from me became clearer. She'd borrow money with no plan to pay it back. She'd flirt with the guys I was seeing, sometimes even dating them herself. She once interviewed for a job I'd been quietly hoping to get and insisted she had no idea I had applied. Every time I forgave her. Every time I reminded myself, that's just what sisters do. They forgive. Becoming a family court judge wasn't actually my dream at first. I started out in family law and then I handled this case, one where a little girl was caught in a brutal custody fight between 2 abusive parents. That's what changed my mind. I realized I wanted the power to actually help kids stuck in the system, to make real decisions that could protect them. So when a judgeship opened up, I applied. At 29, I became one of the youngest judges in my state. Rachel's reaction? Well, it was classic Rachel. She toasted my appointment, champagne in hand, sarcasm at the ready, saying, "So you're judging other people's families now? That's perfect for Miss Perfect." She laughed, but I could see something sharper lurking in her eyes, jealousy maybe. From then on, Rachel had a new way to go after me. At every family get-together, she'd slide sly digs into the conversation. "Ruin any families today, Judge Judy," she'd chirp at Thanksgiving. Or she'd introduce me to friends as the sister who couldn't make it as a real lawyer, so she became a judge instead. She always said it with a big smile. And my parents? They laughed along, telling me to lighten up when I finally objected. My mom would add, "She's just joking, Jessica. Why are you so sensitive?" But here's what they never understood. Their words cut deep, especially because of something that happened 5 years ago. A secret that cost me dearly, a secret I kept, partly out of loyalty, partly because it was just too painful to relive. See, because of something that happened while I was caring for Rachel's child, I had to have emergency surgery, and the complications from it left me unable to have kids. Rachel knew this. She knew exactly what that meant for me, yet she never hesitated to mock me for being childless. Fast forward to when Rachel got engaged to Marcus Bennett. I was genuinely happy for her. Marcus was a respected prosecutor, kind, stable, basically everything Rachel's other boyfriends hadn't been. I hoped he might be the influence she needed to finally turn things around. As I watched them together, though, I couldn't help but wonder, did Marcus really know who Rachel was? Did he get how good she was at hiding her darker side? Or was he, like everyone else, just enchanted by her charm? I kept my doubts to myself. I mean, who am I to judge? Even though, well, being a judge is literally my job. Still, as the engagement dinner inched closer, I couldn't shake the feeling that something big, something bad was looming. I just didn't know it'd be Marcus who'd finally pull the pin and ask about the secret I'd kept buried for years. Rachel's engagement dinner was at our parents' house, a big colonial in the suburbs where we grew up. My mom went all out, catering, flowers, enough candles to light up a small village. Classic Rachel event, all eyes on her, all about her. I arrived early to help, mostly because I needed a moment to steel my nerves. In my family, big gatherings meant open season on my shortcomings. My mother told me, "Jessica, you didn't need to come early. But since you're here, could you check the place settings? Rachel wants everything to be perfect." Of course she did. Perfection always meant Rachel's standards, nobody else's. By 7, the house was packed. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all of them had watched Rachel and me grow up. Some knew about our rivalry, but only on the surface. Rachel's friends, a codependent crew enabling her worst behavior, mingled with Marcus's sister-in-law and brother who looked a bit out of place in the chaos. I sipped wine in the corner, chatting with my cousin Beth, when Rachel and Marcus made their entrance. Rachel was a vision in red, flashing her engagement ring. Marcus just looked, well, happy. For a moment, I let myself believe maybe I'd been wrong, that this was a turning point. Rachel spotted me and dragged Marcus over. "There's my big sister, the judge, always lurking in the corner, right, Jess?" With that, I knew we were back in familiar territory. I smiled as best I could. "You look beautiful, Rachel. Congratulations again, Marcus." Marcus replied, "Thanks, Jessica. It means a lot that you're here." Of course, Rachel cut in. "Where else would she be? It's not like she's rushing home to a husband or kids." Beth looked uncomfortable beside me, but I held it together. Marcus shot Rachel a warning glance. "I'm just teasing, Marcus. Jessica knows I love her," Rachel said, feigning innocence. But before I could even react, my mother called us to the table, and I realized Rachel had placed me right across from her, front row seat to the show. The first course was served. For a while, conversation flowed, small talk, wedding planning, all the rest. But as the main course arrived, Rachel started circling back to me, picking at my career again, asking in front of everyone about the families I ruined this week as a judge. My dad tried to stop her. "That's not a nice way to say it, Rachel," but she kept going, all faux innocence. "Jessica decides which parents deserve to keep their kids. That's a lot of pressure, right?" I answered as calmly as I could. "It is, and I don't take it lightly." Rachel pressed on. "But doesn't it bother you making those calls when you don't even have kids? How could you possibly understand what it's like to be a parent?" The whole table went quiet. Even Rachel seemed to realize, finally, that she'd gone too far. I said, "I may not have children myself, but I do understand the law and I know what children need to be safe and loved." Just then, my mother jumped in, steering the conversation to their honeymoon plans, anything to avoid a scene. but I knew we were only getting started. If you want the next part, just let me know. As the dessert plates were cleared, Rachel didn't let up. She suddenly turned to me and asked, "Jessica, have you tried dating apps?" Her tone was all sweetness, but I knew what was coming. My friend Stephanie met her husband on one. They're so user-friendly now, even for people who aren't tech-savvy. I smiled politely. "Yes, I've tried them." She kept pushing. "No luck, huh? You might want to hurry up. Your biological clock isn't exactly getting younger." My fork froze halfway to my mouth. Rachel knew. She knew everything. She knew I couldn't have kids because of what happened 5 years ago, after that emergency surgery I needed while caring for her child. The infection from that surgery had left me unable to carry a child, a secret I kept hidden, even from our family. Her words weren't just cruel, they were a calculated jab, meant to hurt, and they did. But my parents looked away, silent as usual. They never stood up for me, not when Rachel crossed the line. Trying to soften the moment, Marcus jumped in. "Maybe Jessica is just very focused on her career right now," he suggested diplomatically. Rachel laughed like that was some great joke. "Oh, she's always focused on her career. A real career woman. Doesn't need a man or kids to be happy." I put down my fork firmly. "There's nothing wrong with being career-focused," I replied evenly. "Especially when it's all you have," Rachel said with a smirk. "Let's be honest, you're a failed lawyer who judges other people's families because you can't have your own." The room fell dead silent. Faces went pale. My aunt gasped. My cousin covered her mouth. Even Dad looked shocked. Before I could respond, Marcus stood up with a serious expression. He looked me in the eye and said, "You're the judge here tonight, Jessica. Tell everyone what really happened 5 years ago." The tension was so thick it felt suffocating. Rachel's face drained of color. "Marcus, what are you doing?" she hissed. But Marcus held his ground, eyes steady. In that moment, I knew the secret I'd buried for so long, the secret that had shaped my life and my career, was about to be exposed. And the question was, did I have the courage to finally speak my truth? 5 years earlier, my life wasn't at all like this. I was 27, working in family law, dating a man named David, and for the first time allowing myself to dream about a future. Rachel was 25 and seemed to have it all. Wild parties, glamorous photos, a string of boyfriends. Our parents worried but hopeful, thinking she was finding herself. But I'd started hearing darker whispers. Drug use, emotional roller coasters, dangerous choices. Whenever I tried to reach out, Rachel pushed me away with accusations of jealousy. "Not everyone wants your boring life, Jessica," she said. "Some of us actually want to live." I stopped trying. Then came the call. 3 a.m. Rachel was frantic, broken. "I need help. Don't tell Mom and Dad, please." David and I raced to a motel where Rachel was staying. She was beaten and terrified. That's when I saw her, the toddler I never knew existed, curled up quietly on the bed. Her name was Lily. Rachel confessed she'd hidden the pregnancy from everyone, was going to give Lily up for adoption but couldn't go through with it. She'd been raising Lily herself, though barely. David ran a quick check. Lily was malnourished and sick. We took them to the hospital. Rachel entered rehab. Social services got involved. I sat in that cold hospital corridor, heartbreaking, and made a decision. I would take custody of Lily while Rachel got help. It was temporary. I told myself that over and over. For months, Lily became my world. She was traumatized, scared, but slowly she started to trust again. Then the surgery. I was rushed to the hospital with severe pain, a ruptured appendix complicated by a massive infection. The delicate surgery saved me, but came with a devastating cost. I could no longer have children. It was only later that the full weight of that loss hit me. Rachel returned clean, healthy, with a new boyfriend named James. She insisted she was ready to be a mother, but when she came back for Lily, everything changed. "I want my daughter," she said, but I knew better. I reminded her how fragile Lily was, how much progress she'd made, how she needed stability. Rachel argued she had rights, and legally, she did. I worked with Rachel and James to transition Lily back into their care, but the cracks quickly reappeared. Rachel left Lily with James when their relationship ended. James, despite his promises, eventually gave up, and Lily ended up in foster care. I found out none of us had known the full story. The truth was far darker than I could have imagined. At that engagement dinner, when Marcus blew the lid off this secret, it wasn't just about family drama. It was about confronting the painful choices, the sacrifices I'd made for Lily and for Rachel, and the price of keeping silence. Those who've been in toxic family situations know this. Sometimes the hardest thing we do is speak the truth about the people we love. The night didn't end with easy answers. Rachel's fury and denial filled the room, but so did the weight of years of deception and neglect. Marcus gave me a look that said, "I'm here. We'll figure this out." And that was just the beginning. If you want me to continue with what happened after that shocking evening, the fights, the legal battles, and the hardest judgment call I've ever had to make, just say the word. The next morning, I woke up early, earlier than usual even for court days. The decision would come soon, and I needed a few quiet moments with myself before facing the uncertainty. Lily was still asleep, curled up with her favorite bear, blissfully unaware of the anxieties churning just outside her door. I found myself watching her, wondering what memories she'd carry forward, what scars, but also what hope. At the courthouse, my nerves buzzed with a strange sense of calm. Win or lose, I'd done everything in my power for Lily. Marcus met me at the doors with a supportive smile and a coffee, just like he'd promised. My attorney, David, was waiting inside. He gave my hand a reassuring squeeze. Court was packed. My parents, their faces tight with worry. Rachel, immaculately dressed but with eyes ringed red from lack of sleep. The foster mom, Eleanor. Lily's court-appointed guardian, Ms. Chun, and a handful of other family members sitting with their own whispered opinions and judgments. Judge Wilson entered, her expression unreadable, scanning the courtroom before beginning. Her voice was steady and clear. In custody cases, the court's primary concern is always the best interest of the child. I tried to keep my breathing slow as she reviewed the facts, the instability and abandonment in Lily's past, Rachel's long absences, the missed visitations, and the reality that I'd become the stable figure in Lily's life. The judge paused. Given Ms. Morgan's demonstrated commitment, the bond established, and the testimony of professionals and caregivers, I hereby grant full legal and physical custody of Lily Morgan to Jessica Morgan, effective immediately. For a split second, there was only silence. Then a rush of relief, so overwhelming I nearly cried right there. David squeezed my arm. Marcus let out a breath I hadn't realized he'd been holding. The judge continued, ordering Rachel to repay child support funds she'd received under false pretenses, the money to be held in trust for Lily's future. Her visits with Lily, should she choose, would begin as supervised, with the option to increase them only after demonstrating consistent, healthy involvement. Rachel stood abruptly, her voice breaking. "She's my daughter. You can't." But Judge Wilson shut her down, calm but firm, and her lawyer guided her out. I looked up to see my parents hesitating by the door, uncertainty warring with pride and sadness on their faces. I approached them. My father was the first to speak. "We hope this is truly best for Lily, and for you too. I want you to be part of her life. If you're ready," I said, more vulnerable than I meant to sound. My mother nodded, tears in her eyes. "She's our granddaughter. We'll try." After the crowd thinned, Marcus and I walked from the courtroom together. "You did it," he murmured. "No," I said. "We did it. For Lily." I felt lighter, not because everything was suddenly perfect, but because I had chosen courage, and in that, found a small piece of freedom. Lily moved in the following weekend, arriving with her few belongings in a small suitcase and a plastic bag, stark reminders of all the impermanence she'd endured. As she explored her new room, she paused at the door, hand on the wall. "Is this really all mine?" "It is," I assured her, "and you can change anything you want." A tentative smile flickered across her face, the first I'd seen since the hearing. Settling in wasn't easy. Lily woke up crying from nightmares, tested rules, and needed reassurance again and again. I attended every therapy session, school meeting, and support group I could find, learning to parent a child whose first lessons were about being let down. I made changes at work. Fewer cases, more time at home. Some colleagues supported me, others criticized, but that didn't matter. What mattered was Lily. The routines we created, the moments we laughed, the trust building day by day. Rachel, true to form, filed repeated appeals, all unsuccessful. She attended only 2 supervised visits before losing interest. In time, my parents became a safe presence for Lily, slowly rebuilding trust from scratch. Marcus stayed a real friend through it all. Competent, steady, never overstepping, but always there to help build furniture, cover for me at pickup, or offer a listening ear after a hard day. One night, as I tucked Lily into bed, she looked up at me, her eyes serious. "Will you leave too?" I pulled her close. "No, honey, I'm not going anywhere. You're stuck with me." "Promise?" "Promise I'm your mom now, and moms keep their promises." That was the first time she said it. Mom, instead of Aunt Jessie. My heart swelled with hope and a fierce resolve to never let her down. A few months passed. Rachel contacted us less and less, eventually moving across the country without saying goodbye. The court notified me she'd relinquished all parental rights, clearing the way to adopt Lily. When I broke the news to Lily, she was silent a long moment, then quietly asked, "Does that mean she didn't love me?" My heart ached, but I told her, "Your mom loves you, but sometimes love isn't enough. I love you, and I'll always be here. Forever, if you want that." She nodded, thinking hard, and said, "I want that. I want you to be my forever mom." We rebuilt our story together, slowly, imperfectly, but full of real love. And when I returned to the judge's bench, I saw every case with new eyes. Families weren't just facts and legal arguments. They were messy, hard, worth fighting for. Some days, as Lily waits for me on our steps, clutching a drawing or her stuffed bear, I remember how close she came to slipping away, and how, by finally standing in my own truth, I brought both of us into the light. If you're still with me, thanks for listening. And if you're holding a hard truth, know this: telling it, living it, can be the first step to a life that's finally, truly yours. Months slipped by in our new rhythm. Lily was thriving. Her school reports were glowing, and we decorated our home with her artwork and laughter. Of course, the pain of the past never fully vanished. Some nights she'd wake from a bad dream, or a project about family history at school would make her quietly pensive at dinner. I always reminded her, "Your story is yours to tell, and I'm here for every bit of it." Slowly, she became more comfortable calling me Mom, sometimes proudly, sometimes just in the quiet of bedtime. Our photo albums grew with memories of road trips, science fair projects, and inside jokes. My parents kept showing up too, each visit a little more natural. They'd bring over books, or sometimes just the gift of their undivided time. While we were far from the perfect picture of reconciliation, there was forgiveness growing among us, sometimes in unspoken moments, sometimes in heavy, heartfelt conversations. Rachel remained a distant presence. I heard through the grapevine that she'd moved, started over again, working odd jobs and cycling through relationships. Every so often, Lily would ask, "Do you think she'll ever come back?" And I'd answer honestly, "I don't know, but whatever happens, we'll handle it together." On the day we finalized the adoption, the courtroom felt oddly familiar, even comforting. Lily squeezed my hand and grinned for a photo with the judge. The official decree made it real on paper, but our bond had already been sealed by years of goodnight songs, shared tears, and laughter echoing through our halls. Afterwards, we celebrated the way any family might. We ordered pizza, danced in our living room, and watched Lily's favorite movie. For the first time in a long time, I felt at peace with the choices that had brought us here. Looking back, I never could have imagined that heartbreak and secrets would lead to a new beginning for both of us. I'd learned that Family isn't about who you're born to, but who stands by you when the world gets hard. Speaking your truth, even when it shakes the foundations, can be the only way to heal and move forward. Forgiveness is a journey, not a destination, sometimes offered to others but always needed for yourself. If you're watching this and feeling like your family story is too messy or too broken, take heart. Healing is possible, and new chapters can begin at any time. If you found hope or clarity in this story, let me know in the comments or share it with someone who might need it. I'd love to hear how you made peace with your past or found strength in your own hardest moments. Thank you for listening to all 4 parts of my journey. Your support, empathy, and courage as viewers, and maybe fellow survivors of complicated family legacies, mean the world to me. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories about real life, resilience, and the power of choosing your own family. Until next time, keep standing in your truth and building the life you deserve.